York Yankees. Adam Warren in the deal to the Chicago Cubs. Ben Zobrist to the Cubs. And gets a 4-year deal, $56 million. But what we should talk about as we come back to Nashville, Tennessee, the teams that missed out on Ben Zobrist, the Nationals, the Giants, the Mets. We'll talk about that next.
The fans are strong at Subway, where every order is your chance to win amazing prizes. See Star Wars The Force Awakens in theaters December 18th.
Most people know
on the set, Greg Amsinger, Al Leiter, and Sean Casey. So Ben Zobrist gets a 4-year deal to go to the Chicago Cubs, but the other teams that were interested in him, the San Francisco Giants, the Washington Nationals, and the New York Mets, they were all reportedly very interested in the veteran utility guy that is going to play mostly second base for Joe Maddon in 2016. Who does this burn the most?
Mets. It's just easy coming out there.
Yep.
I think the Mets, if you look at their roster right now, Dilson Herrera is the second baseman. Who knows what's going to go on with Daniel Murphy? It just seemed like a nice fit. Who knows where the money, and I think it really probably came down to, my understanding it was also a 4-year deal that he felt more comfortable, and I know we keep banging the same drum, with Joe Maddon being in Chicago, grew up in Illinois a couple hours from Chicago. It just made sense all the way around for a guy that's been around a while.
And you knew he wanted to go to a situation, obviously, that he could win. Now, he could win with the Mets and the Cubs. I think the Mets, exactly what you said. I still think the Mets need some offense. I still think that he would have been a nice fit for them with that bat. And obviously, in the World Series, they saw the impact that he had for the Kansas City Royals. They would have loved to have him, but the Cubs got him.
Yeah, Zobrist would have looked good with the Washington Nationals. He'd look good with anybody, but he signs a 4-year deal with the Cubs. We have more breaking news for you on MLB Tonight. Ken Rosenthal with this. According to his sources, the Diamondbacks agreed to acquire Shelby Miller from the Braves pending a review of medical records. Young core. Eventually they're going to grow, they're going to thrive and evolve, and they did for the Kansas City Royals. So maybe that's what the New York Yankees are doing by getting a guy in his mid-20s in Starlin Castro to go along with their future young core. We're going to hear from both sides, guys that cover the Cubs and the Yankees, on this big deal next on MLB Tonight.
MLB Tonight is brought to you by Harvoni.
So much going on here inside the Gaylord Opryland Hotel and Resort in Nashville, Tennessee. You're watching MLB Tonight, our coverage of the 2015 winter meetings. We've got a trade to talk about with Mark Feinstein of the New York Daily News and Patrick Mooney, who covers the Cubs for CSN Chicago. We've got official deals. Ben Zobrist, his 4-year, $56 million deal. It's official now to the Chicago Cubs. And it's official that Starlin Castro has been traded from the Cubs to the New York Yankees for Adam Warren. And we're hearing Brendan Ryan is the other player. So, Mark, I want to start with you from the New York Yankees perspective. Starlin Castro, the second baseman now. This is a major upgrade, yes or no? What do you think?
I think so. I think he's got a track record, and yet he's still young. The Yankees have looked at their roster and said they wanted to get younger. They wanted to get more athletic. Now, he's older than Rob Refsnyder, but he's a lot more proven than Rob Refsnyder. I think they liked what they saw from Castro the last 2 months of last season. OPS well over 900. Really came on. Showed he could play some second base, and I just think the Yankees looked at Refsnyder and Dustin Ackley and said they're willing to go with that platoon if that's what they have to do, but it wasn't what they were hoping for.
Ackley can play other positions. Refsnyder, very young player with a high upside. Do you think they try to move Refsnyder now?
I think there's certainly a chance. I mean, I think he's not ever been lumped in with the other untouchable prospects they have, the Aaron Judge, Luis Severino, Greg Bird types. I think Refsnyder is available, certainly now. Now that you look at Castro, signed for 4 more years, Didi Gregorius under control for several years. You've got your middle infield, two guys who are going to be 26 next season on opening day. You've got a young, under control middle infield that is their shortstop and second base combination for the foreseeable future.
All right, Patrick, so now Ben Zobrist is the second baseman for the Chicago Cubs. It's not Starlin Castro. They have Adam Warren now. Brendan Ryan's going to be some infield depth. Is this a major upgrade for the Cubs, in your opinion?
Well, Ben Zobrist is a guy the Cubs have tried to trade for twice within the last year. They couldn't match up with Tampa Bay or Oakland, and this is obviously one of Joe Maddon's all-time favorite players. And if you really look at how the Cubs, struggled in the NLCS, kind of where they got exposed a little bit against the Mets. Like, those are the areas where Ben Zobrist really thrives in, and he's got the perfect manager to put him in the right positions. They think he's a great clubhouse guy, switch hitter, can play all over Wrigley Field, and this is a guy that they've liked for a long time, and Theo Epstein kept talking about these kind of domino theories. If one thing happens, you could see, a ton of moves, and I think we just saw it right here.
Is there a chance this could be the move that puts the Cubs over the top? And I say that because while we love Schwarber's bat, clearly the glove is an issue in left field. And this is a guy that can play left field, and he could do that on a daily basis. If it was a disaster for the first month and a half with Schwarber defensively, which is what we saw in the postseason, and they decided to put Baez at second base every day. Could Zobrist be that X factor to put the Cubs over the top?
Yeah, and I do think Javier Baez is an X factor too, where Joe Maddon said today that, this is a guy that we plan on keeping around, that he's not necessarily a trade chip. Same with Jorge Soler. Now, we'll see if that holds true when they get to Arizona, but I think Schwarber is going to be a better defender than people think. The Cubs have not quite closed the door on catching, but it's really hard to see him getting an apprenticeship for a 90-win team. So he was a guy who was like an all-Ohio linebacker. He could have played D1 football, so he's pretty athletic and he absolutely loves to work at it. So and having a guy like Ben Zobrist around certainly is going to help his development too.
And Mark, you watched a lot of Adam Moore and pitch. Al Leiter described him as a 2.5 pitch pitcher. Do you think he's got the stuff to start in the National League?
I do. You look at what he did in the American League, 3.66 ERA in 17 starts last year, and really was the Yankees' most consistent pitcher in the first half before he got taken out of the rotation when Ivan Nova came back from Tommy John surgery. So Warren has shown that he can start in the AL East. I think you can certainly start in the National League, but if they decide he's not fit to start, he's excelled out of the bullpen as well. He had like a 2.2 ERA last year in about 30 appearances out of the bullpen, and he's shown his stuff, little uptick in velocity, out of the bullpen, and he was really a very good, almost dominant, not Betances Miller dominant, but a really almost dominant guy in that 7th inning for them. So there's some versatility there that Joe Maddon can go either way, and he is familiar with him, having played against him with Tampa Bay.
So you can go home now. I guess the Yankees are done, right, Mark? I mean, they kept saying they're not going to spend any money. They went and fixed the second base situation.
Well, the
so
Jose Fernandez trade, you keep forgetting about that. No,
yeah.
Sorry, just kidding.
No, are you buying that they are completely out of the mix on the last high-ticket guy in Johnny Cueto?
Yes.
No shot.
No shot.
Why is that?
I've just talked to too many people on the record, off the record, who said this is what they're telling everybody, publicly, privately, anywhere you want to listen to them. On the record, off the record, they say the Yankees are telling everybody they are not adding significant payroll. They've got too much money coming off the books in the next 2 seasons. Teixeira and Beltran next year, $38 million. A-Rod and Sabathia the year after that, about $45 million. I think in the back of their head, they still want to ultimately get under that luxury tax threshold, reset that clock, and then they can go spend like Banshees, not paying 50% tax.
Yes, well said. But Patrick, it's a different vibe for the Chicago Cubs. We're not expecting them to be done spending. Are you?
Well, they certainly need a center fielder. They don't think Zobrist can play there every day. They have looked at scenarios where Jason Hayward could be that guy. Now, it's hard to see them actually pulling that off, but he's a guy that certainly has a prime age free agent. They could fit him into that lineup. He wouldn't have to carry a lineup or anything like that. So certainly that's something that they've looked at. They could also kind of just go defense first, and get an upgrade over Dexter Fowler defensively, and really just have a guy who could hit ninth and just catch the ball all over Wrigley. So center field is kind of the next thing that they're going to have to address, but certainly they've crossed off a ton of items, including that John Lackey signing that looks pretty good when you see the price of pitching since then.
Is there a chance that Hayward could be a center fielder for a year for the Cubs? And then move to a corner outfield spot when they figure out Schwarber and Soler and Albert Elmore is ready to play?
Yeah, I think the Cubs have looked at it as kind of a bridge scenario where you would have either maybe it's Hayward or Denard Span could play there for a year or two as they kind of figure out what they have coming in their system. Albert Elmore was the first player Theo drafted in Chicago. He was supposed to be, really elite defensive outfielder who can play center. So I think they're looking to kind of buy time there. But Hayward would be kind of the next thunderbolt after John Lester at last year's winter meetings. This 97-win season no one really saw coming, and then really a big night here tonight for the Cubs.
You guys have plenty to write about now. Patrick Mooney, Mark Feinstein, always a pleasure. It was a lot of fun.
Thank
you. Hey, when we come back, our insider roundtable last night was testy. John Heyman was bringing the heat. It's going to be Joel Sherman, Ken Rosenthal, and the Hammer, John Heyman, when we come back. At pro sports, the #1 pick in a recent draft in that sport to be traded before he ever plays for that, it's rare. It's a rarity.
It's unusual.
It's extremely unusual, and again, reportedly, that is agreed to. I want to talk about Ben Zobrist, the Chicago Cubs, pulling him away from the other teams that were reportedly interested. The Nationals, one of those teams, the Mets, the Giants. How much of a coup is this for the Cubs?
I think it's a coup. Obviously, Joe Madden likes him. Theo Epstein likes him. He liked going there. He wants to be comfortable there. I think that's where he felt best. I don't think this was about the money at all. He fits in now perfectly. Now, you don't have Starlin Castro, so he's going to play second, which is what he likes. He can play some left. We saw Kyle Schwarber's a great hitter, but not a polished left fielder at this point. Fits perfectly with the Cubs, makes perfect sense, and a terrific move. You can't argue with that one.
And I think I think two fringe benefits for the Cubs. Number one, they get to break in Javi Baez probably in a way they like, as a matchup guy. He can play some second when Zobrist goes out to left, move over to short when they want to give Addison Russell, and they could get a better feel for who is Baez. Is he going to hit enough to justify the strikeouts? Number two, let's not forget who played in the NLCS. It was the Cubs and the Mets. It isn't just that they got Zobrist, but they took Plan A away from the Mets, and when at a time where I know the Mets are going to come out and say we have a lot of things going on, but the Mets were fully invested in getting Ben Zobrist, and today they do not have Ben Zobrist.
No question. And keep in mind too, with the Cubs, we keep wondering, okay, what are they doing for pitching? Adam Warren was a very functional pitcher for the Yankees over the last couple of years. Started, relieved, could do a lot of things. Obviously, he's not an ace, but at the same time, they got a piece back for Castro that I don't know we envisioned them getting back. We thought Castro had no value, right?
Exactly.
Well, he brought something back tonight.
Yeah, he remade himself in that second half. The first half, he was basically a giveaway. I mean, he was one of the worst players in baseball. He moved to second under Joe Madden, did a terrific job at second, totally rebuilt his value, and they were able to trade him, get all the money paid by the Yankees, and get two players back, with Warren being the key player. I personally don't think, and I said this on this set yesterday, I don't think this is a big loss for the Mets. I really didn't see Zobrist fitting that great as a Met. To me, Flores is going to be good as a second baseman. He's not Ben Zobrist. Obviously, Ben Zobrist is terrific, but I believe that there are other plans. To me, Zobrist is better for a team where he can then go to left field or right field. The Mets have a great right fielder. They have Granderson. They have a great left fielder coming in Conforto. He's just would be a second baseman.
Is this good news for Daniel Murphy?
They have two second basemen.
Is this good news for Daniel Murphy to go back to the New York Mets?
I don't know that he is Plan B. He's someplace in there. The fact that they valued Zobrist so much higher than him was already shown. You know, they're after Zobrist, they're not after Murphy. You know, the flip side also is, let's just say, we're talking about Warren. I do think the Yankees are trying to do something here, get younger and get more athletic, right? Their shortstop now, Didi Gregorius, turns 26 in February. Their new second baseman, he's played 891 games, but he doesn't turn 26 until March.
Crazy.
They're hoping that by 2017, Greg Bird is their first baseman. Aaron Hicks, also 26. They're hoping in 2017, Aaron Judge is the right fielder, maybe Gary Sanchez halftime thing. They're trying to turn over what was an old, inflexible roster. I don't know if this trade does it, but it follows their script of what they're doing.
Castro is a really interesting guy to me, and I like what John said about how he remade his value, and that is a credit to him. He could have melted when they moved him to second base. That is a difficult thing for a shortstop to do, to be taken off the position where he was the one guy who stood there through the losing years, and then they get good, he has to change positions. He handled it beautifully. Now the Cubs also, keep in mind, they've signed John Lackey, they get Adam Warren, they've got Zobrist. They are looking like a nice, well-rounded team, and I am certain Mr. Epstein, who was laying in the weeds on this particular move, the Zobrist move, is not finished.
And finally, John, when I ask you to look into your crystal ball, I'm kidding. I'm not going to make you do that tonight.
Thank you.
That was really a great roundtable, guys. Great information on an exciting night. Our first really exciting night here in Nashville.
I have a feeling we might be back.
Oh, that means I don't
All he wants
dinner?
is moves. He complains there's never moves during his
Now
show.
he's worried about dinner.
Now, you know, come on.
You're a total pro. Now
You gotta come back, you come
I'm in.
back.
Let's stay all night. We'll have
Greg
a
Amsinger,
sleepover
ladies
on
and
the
gentlemen.
set. Hey, when we come back, our final thoughts on this crazy day. And how about this? Al Leiter recently did a sit-down interview with Dansby Swanson. Awkward. Sean and Al back for this.